So here I'm back once more for another Let's Drive. Thanks again to the folks at Car Chase Heroes. This time I'm taking out for a drive a Factory 5 replica 1965 AC Cobra that over the years has popped up in a number of different films, though most notably as an original in the 45-year-old car chase classic The Gumball Rally, where it went head-to-head with the Ferrari Daytona. Again, I'm just going to share some history of the car and its use in the film, and just give my overall opinion about the experience driving this legendary V8 beast. Yeah, hope you guys enjoy. Cheers.
So here I am, thanks to the people from Car Chase Heroes, I'm able to take out this Shelby replica. And such, you gotta admit, even though these cars back in the 60s, people would say, okay, 485 horsepower for a stock V8 might not sound like much back for today, but back then I can just imagine these cars being just so impressive to whoever drove them that any novice who'd get behind the wheel who was not as familiar would just basically shit themselves, so to speak, or just crap themselves, so to speak. But this car is just pure power because there's no weight to it, because there's no necessary, like I mentioned, the power to weight ratio, just let it go. Just feel it. You feel the traction, just go for it. And that energy under your feet.
So in 1953, the AC Motor Company had produced the Ace motor car. Now, back then this was a UK produced car, and it had a modest engine, nothing too serious. It is basically the model you see before you now, minus some modifications that were later added. Come a few years later, the engine that they would provide was no longer available, so AC had stopped making the Ace. It was about this time that racer and later car manufacturer Carroll Shelby decided to pick these up in order to compete against the Corvette. Now, he wanted to have a car that he could drive in Le Mans and win. So he picked up a number of these, and initially he had implanted it with the 289 Ford engine. But it was not doing the job that he actually wanted to do. It was not turning any heads. It was not until Ford had helped supply Carroll Shelby with the 427 V8 big block did this car had started to become the beast that it was later known to be. Carroll Shelby had produced these from 1965 to 1967, and as such, only 310 7-litre V8s were produced. Now, there were a number of selections there, but one selection in particular was called the Competition, and that was said to have the 485 horsepower engine. Now, at one stage, the 427 was the fastest acceleration production car ever made. It could reach 0 to 60 in 4.2 seconds, which for 1965 and 1966, those numbers were astronomical considering.
Now, this car here, being a replica, so the engine itself, though not a 427, is a 5-litre Coyote with 435 horsepower. And as such, it gives you that great feeling where, again, just listening to it, that for me is just incredible. It is that feeling that you can't get in a lot of things. Sure, modern day cars, they got their traction control, they got all that splendidness to it, where you just can't stop and think, okay, fair enough. You get that wonderful feel of these cars, when you feel that engine just going for it. It takes a special kind of individual to be able to handle, I can just imagine the original cars, especially when driven at Le Mans. You've got to be careful with these cars. Being rear-wheel drive and being that old school, if you're not careful, if you just give it too much on the corner, you'll lose it no matter what. I mean, I'm not sure if you can see the smile on my face right now. I can feel it. But just, Carroll Shelby had once said, and he had told anybody, he put like $100 bill on the dashboard, and he told his passenger, whoever it may be, usually a friend, when he goes out and he floors it, if that person can reach up and grab that $100 bill, it's his.
Now, the Shelby Cobra over the number of years had featured in a number of different films. They were mostly replicas, however. Like most of the cars that feature in these films are more than likely replicas due to their high price. One of the more recent films that this car had appeared in was in the 2019 hit Ford v Ferrari, which, given that part of the story involved Carroll Shelby, it was more than logical that this car would feature in that film. Again, this car being so popular as it is, it had made appearances in certain movies like Bad Boys, for example. At the end of Bad Boys, it had a famous drag race with a Porsche 911, and there was a 3.6 turbo, where in that movie, it lost to the Porsche. Now, that's being debated whether or not it would have happened if it was a genuine 427. That's something else altogether. One appearance that it did have that had gained a bit of had more focus on this car was in the 1976 comedy classic, The Gumball Rally, where, interestingly enough, that was one of the earliest films that included the 427 Shelby Cobra. And those were actual genuine cars that were used. They were actual genuine 427 V8s that were used in that film. Now, in that film, the producers had obtained 2 of these cars to be used. Though one was shown on the screen, it was shown drag racing against the Ferrari Daytona. And to see that car, to see that 427 Cobra go against that Ferrari Daytona, and to see them go head to head, and just remember there was a time when these cars were obtainable. There was something that could be bought and could be obtained for the most part. I mean, it didn't require, you know, like to be a millionaire. They were basically cars that were picked up after they had been discontinued and given something special, given an engine that, despite having some of its own issues where, you know, more or less was made for racing, and anyone who drove it on the road may have suffered the consequences if they did not respect that engine. You just gotta, words can't describe that feeling. It's that pit in your stomach feel. You're scared but excited at exactly the same time. The adrenaline. I know there are other people that can probably drive harder than me on this track. By that I mean in the amateur status. I don't know how you can fathom like a professional, especially at Le Mans. When this car came out, people like Carroll Shelby, people like Ken Miles, who would drive these cars to the limit. It's just amazing to imagine. Now this car again, it's not the genuine article, it's not a 427, but given its power, given its lightweight, you can't help but not fear and respect this car at the same time. You can't help but not take that energy and think, wow, that is just something that can so easily get out of your hand. You just gotta respect it. Respect it 100% no matter what. And even at cruising, it's like a wild animal that says to you, it wants to be free, it wants to go out. It is unbelievable to think. You know, some people are more fearless than others when it comes to speed. And some people are just born to race. And you feel that little bit of it when you get behind one of these cars. You know that this was bred for racing, nothing else. Now, although the Shelby Cobra never won at Le Mans as intended, it was not until a few years later did the Shelby Daytona actually compete and win Le Mans. It would eventually win again with the 427, but it wasn't until the 1966 Le Mans race where Ford and the GT40 would win that classic three-way victory. 1, 2, 3, Ford GT with McLaren and Ken Miles at the lead. Given the car's power to weight ratio, the size of it, the Cobra itself, you really feel like you're in a go-kart with a V8. where you're so in tune with it, where you kind of feel like you're part of the machine. And the car just feels like a rocket. There's just that aura of mystery to it. That aura, like, what is it that makes it so appealing? Like, there are a number of cars from that era. I think there are many that would say, and I would agree with them, that the 1960s produced some of the most stylized, beautiful looking cars in the world. The curves, the power, just the horsepower and everything like that. I mean, sure, there's cars today with unbelievable stock horsepower. You got the Hellcat, for example, like the new GT Mustangs exceeding like 700 horsepower. But these cars here with no traction control, no form of suspension control, nothing like that. It's just basically, like I mentioned, just a chassis with an engine in it. And you got that shell, you got the replicas like come with a fiberglass shell, but when you're inside it, you can feel like any wrong move you make, just a sudden wrong move, a wrong turn of the corner, you feel like this thing is ready to just rip out from underneath you. It's one of those cars that deserves your respect when you're behind the wheel. You've got to get behind it, and you've really got to know that this car here, it wants you to go fast. It wants you to put the hammer down and go for it. But if you're not careful, it could just as easily, like a wild animal, for example, if you mistreat it, if you're not careful, it can really get out of hand and get away from you. So I haven't taken this car out today. I must say, although this is not a genuine 427, just to take this out as it is, with 435 horsepower, to take it out on the track, there's something about it just so amazing. It's just got that power that wants you to just go as hard as you can. And just to know that in the 1960s, Carroll Shelby had produced and developed the Shelby Cobra and the GT40, both of which were just these marvels of racing. You just have to take your hat off to those guys in that era. You just have to sit back and respect. And I must say, if you have the opportunity to take out a replica, or a replica of the Shelby Cobra, I highly recommend it. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Like I said, if you have an opportunity to take it out, please remember to like, share and subscribe. And yeah, hope to see you guys in the next video. Cheers. Bye. Special shout out to Tom and Car Chase Heroes for the chance I got to drive this tribute car and to film myself doing so. If you would like to have a similar driving experience as the other film and TV based cars to choose from, along with other racing and sports vehicles on offer, please visit Car Chase Heroes at the link in the description below to arrange for a driving session of your own, as they offer a number of different experiences in different locations across the UK. Thank you for watching, and feel free to like and subscribe and to hit the notification bell icon, as your support is what helps this channel grow and to bring you more content such as this one.